What's going on, guys? Sean here from Hammerhead Garage. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Just coming on here tonight to have kind of an informal type thing and discuss a few things. People have been asking me questions this week, and the Sunday night streams are when I like to address a lot of the questions that you guys ask because I'm not really great at typing. I'm kind of not an internet nerd by any stretch. I'm not really great at typing stuff, so I like to talk to people face to face and just have like a discussion on, basic things. Tonight's topic is going to be: should I buy a used snow machine? And the answer is don't unless. And what I mean by that is a lot of people I know haven't been in the industry for 25 years. I've seen a lot of different things come and go. And a lot of people I know, they go on Kijiji or they go on Craigslist or let's say Facebook Marketplace or someplace like that, and they're looking for a used snow machine. You got to be very, very careful nowadays when you buy anything used from anyone, unless you really know them well. I'll tell you right now, firsthand knowledge is that a lot of the stuff that's for sale there, not all of it, because not all applies to everything, but a lot of the stuff you're going to find there is just someone else's headache, to be completely honest. The best thing to do if you don't know anything about mechanics or snow machines is to take somebody like me that does know about them, pay them $50 for their time to have to look at the machine real careful. For instance, two-stroke snow machines have a tendency to go bang, to go kaboom, kaplowy, whatever you want to call it. They don't get rebuilt as often as they should. It's like a two-stroke dirt bike. They're supposed to be rebuilt every like 25 hours, and they don't get rebuilt that often. A lot of guys will take a compression gauge and they'll screw it into the top, and they'll just check the compression above the piston, and if it reads good, then they buy it. Well, there could be a lot of other things that are hidden there, guys. Remember that a two-cycle makes compression not only above, but also below in the crankcase. Two compressions there. And the rule for checking the compression underneath the piston is you got to have rubber plugs in the exhaust ports, and also you have to plug off the openings and exits. And it's 6 psi for 6 minutes. So if you take a hand pump, and I have a little rubber plug with a Schrader valve in it, I can take a hand pump. If you can pump 6 pounds of air in the bottom of the crankcase and it'll hold it for 6 minutes, then it's tight. The crank seals are probably good in it. All that stuff, of course, can be rebuilt, but snowmobile parts are extremely expensive, boys. I'm telling you right now, unless you got money, getting into sleds cheaply is pretty hard to do. Like I said, you can easily get taken if you don't know what you're looking for or looking at. And it's not just the engine that's of a concern on a Skidoo. The track. Lots of times I've seen Skidoos where the engine was running great, but the track was just complete junk. We have a machine that you pick them up and it gets the sled right up off the ground, so you can get underneath there. You can even run the machine with the track moving. And you'd be surprised how many times I've gotten under there and seen just complete nightmares, where the chain case, which is the chain that hooks the horizontal movement of the crankshaft and turns it into through the power shaft that actually moves the track, is completely cracked. There's no oil in it. Broken teeth off inside the chain case. Broken sliders on the track. Lack of lubrication. Everything's all seized up, broke, busted. The track itself is split. There's so many other nightmares scenarios. So you really should take someone with you. It's like anything else, though. It's like motorcycles, dirt bikes, hot rods, cars, trucks. Unless you know exactly what to look for, take somebody. Pay the $50 or whatever they're asking to come out and check it over. It's well worth the money. You'll get that back in spades. There are some good deals to be had, but you have to be very careful, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't buy something used. I'm just saying make sure you know what you're buying, right? I had a guy ask me a question. He watched that show on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's called Harley and the Davidsons. It's like a mini series. I think it's 3 parts. But anyway, it's a pretty good watch. I watched it. But there was a comment in there that said, I'm going to go out and buy a Harley. And I said, I wouldn't. And he said, well, what do you mean by that? And I told him to come to the live stream tonight, and I explained to him what I meant. And what I meant basically was there used to be a thing called quality way back when, okay? Modern stuff does not have quality anymore for the most part. You can't even buy it. Back when those bikes were being made, the knucklehead, the shovel head, I mean, they leaked oil like a sieve and everything right from the dealer's showroom. I had a buddy that used to sell Harley Davidsons in BC, and he was telling me that brand new 1972 shovel head, there'd be a big oil pan right underneath the bike to catch the drips in the showroom floor. So, I mean, that was just a problem they had with the machining. They also had a problem with like really thin, porous metal tin primaries that used to leak badly. But anyway, they were good machines in the sense that they were the metal was quality. The engine parts were quality. The crankshaft, the rods, everything was good quality material. The way I can explain it best, guys, is like this, okay? Everything is a toaster nowadays. What do you do at home if you've got a toaster and let's say it only toasts one piece of bread, one side of your bread, okay, and it's a 2-slice toaster? What do you guys do with it? The same thing I do. You huck it out. You chuck it. You get rid of it. Well, that's the way snowmobiles are nowadays. Motorcycles, electronics, car parts, a lot of them. Automobiles, anything made after 2009, in my experience, is the quality has gone way down. And I want to read to you guys, okay, suffer me here. I want to read you something I found on the internet today about this topic, okay? So just bear with me. I want to read this little thing about you, and it's about quality, and it all ties in with what I'm saying here. The manufacturer's desire to make bigger profits encourages them to save on the quality of raw materials and take shortcuts. For example, it may not make a big difference for a customer to pay $100 or $101 for a thing, let's say, call it X. However, it easily makes $1 million profit for the manufacturer if they reduce the real cost of each X by $1. Produce 1 million of X and sell them for the same price. Or what is even more profitable is reduce the real cost and raise the price at the same time by making a new version of X. New car of the year, new snowmobile of the year, new whatever of the year, okay? New and improved, quote unquote, right? Despite catastrophic long-term consequences, transformation of the population into a throwaway society can be very profitable in the short term. We buy things used, we use them for a short period of time before they fail, throw them out, and buy a new one because we need a replacement. For example, if a manufacturer produces 10 million X's a year, and there are hundreds of millions of people who want to buy X, it means that in 10 years, everybody who wanted to buy an X will have it. If X is of excellent quality and lasts for 20 years, the manufacturer will have no market for 10 years out of 20. If X is of good quality and lasts for 10 years, the manufacturer will always have a stable demand, but without much opportunity to grow. However, if the manufacturer lowers the quality of X to last for 5 years, they can double their manufacturing capacity and profit. Yeah, that's just, unfortunately, guys, this is 2019, almost 2020. This is the world we're living in, right? Which is sad because we really don't want to have that type of thing go on. I mean, I know I don't. But when I was working in Kawasaki out west, the head guy or one of the head guys for Kawasaki Heavy Industries, and any of you guys that have Kawasaki products know who they are, right? It's Kawasaki. That's what they're called, Kawasaki Heavy Industries. He came to our dealership in Alberta, and I was invited out as a mechanic to go to dinner with these guys. And I got a chance to talk to the head guy, Kawasaki, a very nice Japanese man who spoke perfect English. Like, I mean, perfect. You'd think that he was from the Midwest or something. Like, he spoke perfect English. I asked him, I said, how come you can't get parts for some Japanese machines that are only 3, maybe 4 years old anymore? And they come up as NLA, no longer available. And he said, Sean, it's pretty simple. The Japanese philosophy is not to rebuild, it is to replace. So he said, we don't want to fix these older model machines. Okay, we're going to only have them out for a limited amount of years before the parts are not going to be available to fix them anymore. What we would rather have is have you come back to us and keep buying a new machine every couple of years. Now, back in the 70s or 60s and 50s, the quality was such that the thing would last a long time and you could get a lot of use out of it. Like, I mean, a lot of use. That's why I like old stuff. I buy old cars, old trucks, old bikes because I like the quality. They were built extremely well, overkill, right? The problem is parts, finding parts. That's the whole issue, right? So he said, yeah, we don't want people fixing them. We want them buying new. Now, I don't know a lot of rich folks, okay? The people that I know in this industry, like fellow hot rodders and stuff, they're working class dudes. They got families. They work a job 40, 50, 60 hours a week. They got bills to pay. They don't have the money to go out and spend 30 grand. I think the latest snow machine from Yamaha this year is like $35,000. And it's like, whoa, man. You know, like, I don't know. That's a lot of money to me. Maybe it isn't to you guys, but it is to me. Anyway, just let me have a couple sips of coffee and we'll continue on with this diatribe. But anyway, it's a lot of scratch, guys. It's a lot of scratch. So yeah, if you're going to buy used, make sure you know what you're buying. Like I said, bring somebody with you that can show you exactly what it is you're buying. Okay. So yeah, so that covers the Harley question and the used snow machine question. Okay. If you guys have questions about any of that stuff, I know a lot of answers about that stuff because that's what I've done for the last 25 years. Now, when it comes to building like a hot rod, something really cool, okay? Everyone's got their own idea what a cool hot rod is. But to me, what a cool hot rod is to follow the foundations that the guys that started the whole thing back in the 40s and 50s followed, which was to buy unpopular cars, get junkyard parts or cheap parts and put them together yourself and make something unique out of them. To me, that's what's really cool about it, right? That's like, wow, that's the whole deal. That's kind of what a lot of the internet YouTube channels that I like I watch Uncle Tony's Garage, Cold War Motors. That's another one that I like to watch. You know, I get a ton of them, you know, of course, you know, Jed Scott, you know, Scott Speed Shop. I watch all Jed stuff, love his stuff. So that's their whole basis is basically you build stuff and you make it cool and you involve your family. And that's the real value of it, guys, is that you can have memories that last, right? That's the whole reason we want to get into this. Hey, this guy's garage. What's going on, man? But that's the whole reason we get into this is we're trying to make memories, right? And I was just saying this the other day that when I was a kid, okay, it seems like not that long ago, but really it was a while back. I'm 47. So let's say I grew up in the 70s and 80s, right? Used to be able to go into any parts store, okay, just about. And there were speed shops all over the place. Even in Eastern Canada here, there was like Eastern Motors. There was like all these different cool little speed shops you could go into, and they'd have like all the parts hanging on the walls, like the Holly carbs, and they'd have like the latest intakes and camshafts, and all this stuff would be in stock. Try and find that now, right? Here in Canada, you got to order everything from like Summit or Jegs, or I don't even know a Canadian rod shop that sells anything. Maybe there are some cool ones that still do, but I try and get a welder and just make it myself. A lot of us Canadians here in Eastern Canada, we go to Canadian Tire to get stuff. Or I've got an account down at Napa Auto Parts. I get some things there. Rock Auto, that's another great one, guys. Giving these guys a lot of plugs, but that's kind of where I get a lot of my stuff. But anyway, yeah. So what I'm saying is you got to think out what it is you're doing. Okay. Where I used to go wrong, like when I first got into hot rod, my very first car, okay, that I owned myself and bought with my own money was a 71 Chevelle Malibu. It was a 2-door Chevelle. It had a 307 and a 2-speed power glide with a 308 rear gear. That was the very first car I bought. The 307 only ran on 7 cylinders, and the timing chain was so stretched that whenever you put it in time, the thing would backfire like crazy. Yes, eBay. Thanks, man. eBay is another good one. When I timed it, it would only stay in time for a short period of time, and then it'd be backfiring and running like hell again, right? So I, that's how I learned, right? But back when I started, there was no such thing as the internet, so all this stuff I had to learn from like older brothers, older uncles. I went to the library. Remember that place, guys, that called the library, where they used to have these things called books that had like paper print in them, and you go in there, and if you didn't know something, you used to just go in there and you'd look in the book and find the answers. Well, everything's online now, so I mean it's kind of cheating in a way, but you got to be careful too of the information you're getting online, guys, because there's a lot of bad information too, right? Like the good nuggets are there, but there's a lot of horse shit mixed in with it, unfortunately, right? So you got to kind of. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I get off track real easy. But getting back to what I was saying, if you're going to build something, okay, here's the mistake I made starting out. I'd get the biggest cam. I'd get the wrong gear. I'd get the wrong intake. I'd have way too large of a carburetor. Okay, so what I ended up with was something that cost a whole lot of money and ran like shit. Right? And what it is it's about the whole package. It's not just about the engine, it's about the whole thing as a whole. It's the whole package. What transmission do you have? Okay, what gears are in the transmission? What gearing do you have in the rear end? How heavy's the car? Right? What is it your purpose of it? Are you looking to make a daily driver? Or are you looking to make a strip terror? Street and strip to me, they don't gel too well. I've never had a street strip machine that was really good at both. Right? Maybe other guys can relate to that. I just haven't. It's either street or strip. To me, a street car is something that can sit in traffic and idle all day and not overheat, and still has enough vacuum to run your accessories. That doesn't mean it's slow. I mean, you can make some pretty serious power with a daily driven street car, if you know what to do. Yeah, like this guy's garage, overcarbed, overcanned, and undergeared. Yeah, exactly, man. I had that turd, and it was a turd. Like a friggin' Honda Civic would blow the doors off of this thing, right? I was embarrassed with it, but I didn't know any better, right? You'd think because my uncles were all gearheads back in the 70s. I remember trips going down the 4-lane highway leading into Moncton, New Brunswick with my uncles, and they had like Dodges with like 383s and 440 Magnums and stuff. We'd be going 120 miles an hour down the road. And I remember my Uncle Roger saying to me, "Don't tell your mother," right? He didn't want her to know that I was in the car going that fast. So they were always tearing stuff apart. They were gearheads, right? But back then the gas was cheap, okay, and it was good. You had some octane in it and stuff, right? And this, the gas we have now is shit. I'll be completely honest with you. The best fuel I use Shell V Power, like the 91 octane, just because I can get it, and it's pretty decent fuel. I don't think it has, it doesn't have any ethanol in it, I don't think. Not that there's anything wrong with that. There's guys that are making E85 machines that are like super crazy. Yeah, we're the last of the Mohegans. You're right, man. You're absolutely right. We are, right? I get nothing against the imports either, guys. I mean, some of you guys might, but I don't. I've had some pretty cool little import cars. I had a 92 Golf, two-door Golf, it had a 1.8 liter 8-valve gas engine that I put 458,000 kilometers on it. And then I took that engine out and I put a turbocharged 1.8 liter turbo motor out of a later model Golf into it. I did a whole bunch of head porting, custom cams, custom Wiseco pistons, and the thing just went like a scalded dog. In fact, it was so much power that I don't know if you guys know those Golfs, but they have a subframe assembly underneath. I cracked it right from one side all the way to the other because it was just an old East Coast rotten car that I put way too much power in, right? And that car too, I also had a wheel come off of it at 130 kilometers an hour, reaching for a gear, and it was no fun experience. But I'm here, I'm still alive, and I know you guys got all kinds of stories like that too, right? But if you're into this long enough, you're bound to have some stories, right? That's another cool part about it, right? But anyway, think of the package, okay? Think about what it is you're trying to do. What is your main goal, right? That's the number one question you got to ask. And then you can build a package from there. If you don't know about engine math, I highly recommend that you guys go get a book on it. You can get a book at, I think Amazon has books on engine math, and learn things like static compression, dynamic compression ratio, learn things about deck height, quench, learn all that stuff, right? Get a book. There's some info on the internet, but get a book. I have tons of books. I'm old school, I guess, because I still have these old motor books. Like, I'll show you one. I got one right here. Anyone know what this is? It's an old Chilton's truck and van repair album book from 1979, and it's got like 4 or 5 different types of stuff in it, right? Like, you got these really old school photographs and diagrams, and it's just a wealth of information, man, like having this stuff, right? And I get a lot of it at flea markets. I get it cheaply, and I read it. And there's a lot of really cool stuff. I think I've used that book 3 or 4 times already, right? And there's tons of cool stuff in there. But yeah, it's about the package. Know what you want to build, and then get the parts, and they have to work together. And what I mean by that is, what RPM range do you want to run the engine at? Okay, that's one question you got to ask. There's no sense putting a cam and an intake setup that only works from like 4,500 to 7,500 RPM. Are you going to spend most of your time in that rev range? If you're running a street-driven vehicle, you're probably not. You're probably going to end up in jail if you run at those RPM ranges all the time. So, for a street car, like my truck, for instance, I built it from 2,000 to 6,200 is where it runs the best. And it really comes on strong in the mid-range because of the cam, right? It doesn't have much overlap. The intake and exhaust valves are not open for very long at the same time. So there's not a lot of reversion of the exhaust track coming in and ruining the intake charge, and vice versa. So it really scavenges well at that RPM and pulls hard. So, but anyway, yeah, so there's tons you can learn. And I'm not saying I know everything, guys. Listen, I don't. I'm just a hot rodder. Everything that I know is by trial, denial, and error, I call it. But anyway, there's tons of people that can help you out with stuff. I'm one of them. So if you guys have questions that you want to build something, like I had a guy 5 minutes ago ask me where I get he gets a certain jet for a certain type carburetor. I was able to tell him where to go to look for one, right? So, I mean, it's a big community. We're all in it together kind of deal, right? We're the last of the Mohegans, right? So, I mean, we are, and we got to stick together and help each other out. But yeah, used snow machines, it can be very expensive to get into that. You got to be super careful. I wish everybody was honest. I wish everybody would tell you the truth all the time, never lie to you. But unfortunately, a lot of what ends up on those places like Kijiji and Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace is junk. It's somebody else's headache. They're just trying to get rid of the thing because they know there's a problem, right? And they're not. And a lot of people aren't going to fess up to it. But there are some that will. I think a few friends of mine ran into that recently, like the $100 car, for instance. Yeah, this guy's garage bought a $100 car, and the guy fessed up to. He said, "You're not a very good salesman." He said, "I'm going to actually have to come down and have a look at this thing because you're not doing a very good job selling it." So I mean, there are still some decent folks around. Like, this isn't a, don't trust anyone, you don't trust the government, kind of deal, right? This is just my opinion, right? So anyway, take it for what it's worth, by all means. Yeah, Sean Cadden at Live. Okay, yeah, all right, cool. I'm not sure how to do like a collaborative effort between 2 channels, whether or not we can both be on the same channel at the same time, or anything like that. It'd be nice if we could just get on there and like have a split screen kind of deal. But I'm not sure how that would all work because I'm not of the computer gen. Although I know a little bit about computers, it's not nearly what like my 10-year-old kid probably knows way more than I do, right, about this kind of stuff. But if you guys have any suggestions for future topics or some content that you might want to see, just let me know. Either send me off a message or in the chat or whatever. You're going to have to show me the ropes for sure, because I'm totally ignorant when it comes to that type of thing. But I want to kind of make this a regular Sunday night thing. So if we can get on here 8 o'clock or so, I think 8's a good time because a lot of people are settling down. The kids are doing their homework. The wife's home, supper's over with, that kind of thing. And even in the United States, I think there's an hour time difference for a lot of folks, it seems. So yeah, the church is over or whatever on Sunday. We'll call it the Sunday sermon. There you go, right? So we can have like a regular kind of deal. It's hard to make good content for those that don't know that people like us that live in the winter belt. In the wintertime here in Eastern Canada, it can get pretty cold, pretty nasty. So it's hard to make really good content. So I'll do what I can. Actually, this week I'm planning a trip to the machine shop. A friend of mine owns a machine shop in town here, an engine building shop, and I'm planning a trip in there. So I'm going to see if I can sneak the camera in there and get some footage of that stuff. You guys would probably be interested in that if you're gearheads, like I know you are. So I'll get you in there. I mean, he does everything in there. They even have an engine dyno in there. So they deck blocks, they rebuild cylinder heads, they deck heads, they assemble motors, they do all kinds of stuff in there. It's not easy being cheesy, well, that's for sure. But anyway, we'll see what we can do there. So it's just going to get better and better. I'm looking at, when I get some money here, upgrading my camera equipment a little bit and getting some more modern stuff that would hopefully be better. But then again, we're running into the thing I was just talking about in the first of my video, which is it really better? They might just be charging money for something that's no better than what I got, because the quality's going down. I mean, in a lot of cases and stuff, right? And it's because profits, right? And these big companies, man, I mean, it used to be about, let's make a real good product so people come back and buy from us. Well, now it's about keeping the shareholder happy, right? They're all in it to, like, they got these shareholders they're trying to show record profits to and keep them happy. So the way they do that is either they send all the jobs to China and get the labor for nothing, or they got to cut down on the quality. They can't produce the same quality. They have to cut it somewhere, right? So sad reality, but but there's still enough good stuff out there that we can continue on with our hobby, right? Yeah, I will. I'll hit you up with an email for sure. We can sort it out. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate that. But yeah, so like I said, if you guys have any idea or any topics you want me to discuss or talk about or questions, hit me up. I'm easy peasy to get along with. As you guys can probably tell by my live streams, that I'm not an overly complex guy. I do have a lot of knowledge in the automotive power sports industry. I've been doing it for a long time. There's a fair amount of subjects I know about. I am trained in Kawasaki, Yamaha, Honda, factory trained, and Suzuki as well. But I do know automotive as well. I've been big into hot rod my whole life. I'm always fixing something out of nothing, essentially, right? And have managed to accumulate a fair amount of knowledge. I do a lot of reading as well, and on the internet and in books, and so that's helped as well. But in any case, yeah, there's a few other live streams I check out on Sunday nights, so I think I'll keep it fairly short. I don't want to bore everybody to death with my diatribes. But anyway, let me know on the comments, guys, if you guys got anything out of this video. Again, put any questions, comments you want on there. Even if you don't agree with me, I'm totally cool with that. I don't have to be the know-all, be-all of all subjects. These are just my opinions, right? And what I've seen in the industry from working in it. So in any case, I'll finish up my coffee and I'll get on and get prepared to do the rest of my viewing for the evening and a little bit of reading before I go to bed. Anyway, I'll wrap her up. We'll talk to you folks soon. I appreciate you coming on here, and we'll see you this week. I'll get another video out, and remember, my live streams are going to be the same time next week. Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Halifax time. So you can just type that in Google, 8 p.m. Halifax, and it'll give you the time zone that we're in, and you can judge from there, basically. So remember, as you go from east to west, you go back an hour each time, right? So it's 8:30 here, well, it's 7:30, and and just goes back and back and back, right? So anyway, we'll talk to you later. Cheers.